All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Hakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone and salutations to the elect. This is Brother Lawyer from Great Millstone, Miami. And the title of this lesson is going to be, Shall we receive good at the hand of the Lord, and shall we not receive evil? Okay. And this is based off of the book of Job. You know, the famous saying from Job as he admonished his wife, because she, she told him to curse the Lord as a result of all that he was going through. Okay. And we're, those of us who are in the faith, or if you have some kind of biblical knowledge, you should be familiar with the story of Job and the things that he went through. All right. And how the Lord sent Satan to afflict his life to prove Job's faith and to prove Job's integrity. All right. This righteous man of the Lord who was prosperous and blessed lost everything save his life. He even lost his health and his physical, beauty as a result of boils and sicknesses that the Lord afflicted him with. OK. And eventually even his wife and, his friends came against him. All right. And started rebuking him and saying all manner of things against him. Right. In their ignorance. Right. So, with that being said, Job's response, because I'm not going to go through the whole story, but Job's response, reveals and highlights a hard truth. OK. All right. We're in this faith. We serve the Lord, man, and we have to acknowledge and understand and submit to ourselves to the fact that it's not going to be easy all the time. Things are not always going to be prosperous or good, so to speak. All right. Or favorable. You're going to go through hardships. OK. This truth is not a ticket to easy street, man. You're going to catch hell. Now, granted, is all what you're going to catch is hell? No, the Lord is going to also bless you and do things like that. But, also the Lord is a perfect balance, man. The scriptures say the Lord creates light and darkness, man. He brings peace and he creates evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. OK, so when you come to serve the Lord, you have to understand that, again, you're going to catch hell. You're going to go through afflictions and evils, man, and trials as a part of proving your faith the same way as it was with Job, And so I just want to, go into it in this lesson, man, and just exhort the flock, to understand that, when you come into this truth, all right, it's not going to be, all sunshine and daisies all the time. You're going to go through afflictions that may last weeks and months and years. All right. Trials of hardships and pains. OK. And to keep the faith nonetheless, man, because these trials and afflictions, those low moments and those low seasons of hardship and affliction is where your faith is really proven and perfected. And faith is our vehicle to salvation. All right. Just in case you didn't know that. All right. A token of our salvation is our faith. That's our ticket into the chariot, man. And that's what the Lord has proven so that we can be found worthy of the salvation, that he's promised us, man. So remember that. OK, keep that in mind. All right. So I just want to go into this Job chapter 2. OK. And all right. Matter of fact, I'll just start at verse 1. All right. It says, again, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them to present himself before the Lord. All right. So again, the Lord had already, this scenario had already happened. OK, the angels, of course, they always report back to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. All right. In the previous chapter, if you know the story, Satan was already sent to afflict Job's possessions and, to kill his children and all of these things, right? To take all these physical possessions that Job had away. Right. OK. And so in chapter 2, the angels again are reporting to the Lord. All right. And Satan is also there. Right. And says, and the Lord said unto Satan, from whence comest thou? And Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth and walking up and down in it. And the Lord said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth the Most High and escheweth evil. And still he holdeth fast his integrity, although thou movest me against him to destroy him without cause. All right. So the Lord had already sent Satan to afflict Job the first time. And the Lord asked Satan, have you considered my servant Job again? Okay. All right. So sometimes you're going to be in this truth and you're going to be going through trials and afflictions back to back. Okay. All right. Long seasons of continual affliction, and things are not going to let up, for a while. It can be like that for a while. Okay. All right. And understand that it's the Lord that's behind it. Okay. It's not always because you're wicked or you're evil or you're doing something wrong. This is, again, is the Lord is really placing a bet on you and probably even boasting of you in the spiritual realm in a lot of cases. The same way he did with Job, man, to prove that Job was truly his friend and that Job was truly obedient to Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Okay. And Satan, which the word Satan means adversary. When you read the story of Job, the first 2 chapters, Satan always has an adversarial tone and even kind of like a rebuttal towards the Lord. Okay. Because again, he's the adversary. He's the accuser. He's supposed to come up with a case against the Lord's servants. Right. So you would think that this response from the Lord would dead the whole interaction. But Satan answered the Lord and said, because the Lord did ask him a question, right? It says, skin for skin, yea, all that a man hath will he give for his life. Okay, so Satan's basically answer was like, okay, well, of course he was willing to give up all his physical possessions. All right, and let you allow me to afflict those things to spare his life. Okay, but if you let me touch his body, he's going to curse you to your face. Right. It says, but put forth thine hand now and touch his bone and his flesh, and he will curse thee to thy face. OK, so you got to understand, a lot of times things you're going through is because Satan is bringing up an accusation to the Lord against you. All right. But the Lord is rooting for you. OK, the Lord is boasting of your faith. All right. So think of it like that. Again, these evils that the Lord brings upon us is to try us, man, and to prove us. Okay. All right. It says, and the Lord said unto Satan, behold, he is in thine hand, but save his life. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord and smote Job with sore boils from the sole of his foot unto the crown of his head, unto his crown. And he took him a potsherd to scrape himself withal. And he sat down among the ashes. So Job has all of these boils, all over his body, man. And it hurts and it's itching. And he's taking potsherds, which is, broken pieces of a pot, to scrape and scratch himself because it's unbearable, And you can imagine how many cuts he has. Again, this is from the sole of his foot to the crown of his head. So he's completely, afflicted in his flesh, man. Okay. And he's scraping and scratching at himself. So he's bleeding. He got open wounds, right? Job just went through some traumatic shit in the previous chapter when you're reading it, right? Right. And he sat amongst the ashes. So he's mourning. It says, then said his wife unto him, dost thou still maintain thine integrity, curse the Most High and die? But he said unto her, thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaketh. What? Shall we receive good at the hand of the Most High, and shall we not receive evil? And all of this did not Job sin with his lips. Okay. So you got to understand, we have to understand in this faith and walk of the Lord that, we're going to continually go through hell. We're going to keep catching hell, man, up until we get out of here, man. In some way, shape or fashion, we're going to go through this furnace of affliction, man. And it ain't over until it's over, man. All right. The Lord has blessed us. He will continue to bless us. But we will also, as we walk this walk of faith, have to go through trials and afflictions. And it's part of it, man. All of these things, prosperity, riches, life and death, good and evil come from the hand of the Lord, man. And it's part of the fight. It's part of the battle. It's part of the straight gate, man. Okay. It's no reason to get offended. The Lord is already written in the scriptures. It's already foreordained of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, man. Okay. What does it say in Sirach chapter 2, right? Okay. In Sirach chapter 2 and verse 1, it says, my son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. Set thy heart aright and constantly endure, and make not haste in time of trouble. Okay, so when you come to serve the Lord, understand you're going to be tempted. You're going to go through temptations and trials, man. All right, it's going to be external and internal forces in your mind and external forces, and spiritual forces, things that are going to happen that's going to try to make you, go off the path, man, and follow after your flesh, doubt the Lord, etc. You know, uh, uh, entice you to sin. Okay, so you have to understand that when you come to serve the Lord, that's part of the package. Serving the Lord is not a ticket to easy street. This is not the prosperity gospel. This is not that. Okay, you're going to catch hell. All right, and you cannot dictate the type of hell you're gonna catch, how it's gonna come, how long it's gonna last. That's not in your control. What your job is to do is pray and trust in the Lord and to continue to be obedient and endure. That's your job. Okay. And everything else is the Lord's business. Okay. All right. It says, set thy heart and constantly endure and make not haste in time of trouble. Okay. And part of not making haste and setting your heart aright, when coming to serve the Lord and enduring temptations, is understanding that we're going to go through hell. We're going to go through afflictions and trials and evils. It's part of it. Okay. And if that's not something, if that's not something that you internalize when you're in this truth, all right, you're setting yourself up to make haste in time of trouble. Okay. You're setting yourself up to not be able to endure because you have not considered that this is part of the deal. In order for us to get to the kingdom, in order for us to get the crowns and the blessings and all the things that we desire and talk about, we have to go through the furnace of affliction. And Yahushua himself proved that. Okay. All right. Yahushua himself proved that he had to suffer before the glory came. That's the reality, man. And we're coming in his stead. We're walking in his footsteps. He laid the example. We got to follow it. Okay. All right. It says, cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. Okay. So cleave unto the Lord when you're going through these moments and seasons of hell. It could be anything: financial afflictions, relationship afflictions, infirmities, different trials and afflictions you're going through. Cleave unto Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Call upon the Lord, man, and keep it real with Yahweh Bashem Yahushai too, man. Okay. All right. Keep it real with the Lord. Talk to the Lord. Tell him what you're going through. Tell him how you feel. Tell him about your afflictions. The Lord wants us to actually have a real relationship with him, man. That's why it's more than just going out to camp and doing videos, and saying no to pork and not celebrating Christmas, and not committing adultery, which is things you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go to camp and do videos and pay your tithes and be brotherly and go to class and fellowship. You're supposed to not commit adultery. You're supposed to not eat pork. You're supposed to not celebrate Christmas. Okay. You're supposed to do all these things, man. All right. Those are things you're supposed to do and not do. These are the basics. Okay. All right. But it's more than that. It's about relationship. How do you respond to affliction? Okay. How do you stay connected to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, or if you do stay connected to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai during times where things are not going your way? Okay. All right. Are you calling upon the Lord? Are you casting your burdens upon the Lord? Are you trusting the Lord when things are hard? Okay. When you're going through periods of anxiety and uncertainty and fear and pain, are you crying upon the Yahweh Bashem Yahushai? All right. That's what really proves whether or not you believe or not, man. Okay. And when you do call upon the Lord and you do lean upon the Lord will eventually bless you, man, and exalt you and justify you. All right. So that's why the scriptures say, cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. Okay. All right. So take it cheerfully, which doesn't necessarily happen all the time in the moment. Okay. But it's about giving you perspective. That's why the scriptures tell you, count it all joy when ye fall into diverse temptations. Okay. Knowing that patience, let patience have her perfect work, that you may be perfect and entire and wanting nothing. Okay. Okay. Tribulation worketh patience, patience experience, man. Why be patient? Why take it cheerfully? Is because it's building you. It's purifying you. It's making you a vessel that pleases the Lord. Okay, it's not about what you want and how you want situations to play out all the time, or the way you think situations should play out. No, sometimes you got to catch some fucking hell, man. Sometimes you got to go through it, man. Okay, but it's making you better. Okay, all right. It says, "For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity." Okay, so gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. And if gold and silver could talk, I can guarantee you, you know, I'm being a little, um, imaginative, but imagine if gold and silver and precious stones could talk, and they could tell you how it felt to be in a furnace. I can guarantee you it wouldn't feel good, man. But it's necessary for that gold to be purified. I can guarantee you, oh, it's hot. I don't like this taking me out. But on the other side of that, okay, um, you know, it becomes a polished instrument, a polished material, man, a perfected material that you can use, to make pottery or gold, or, or gold necklace or a ring or jewelry, you know, something precious, man. And that's how the Lord is dealing with his men. Okay. We got to go through this furnace of affliction. We got to go through these fiery trials, man. Okay. Which means it's gonna get hot. It's going to hurt. It's going to be uncomfortable. You're not going to like it. Okay. And it's okay to feel that way a lot of times. And guess what? When you feel that way, you come to the Lord. You bring it to the Lord. You call upon Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, the same way Job was doing, the same way Yahweh Shai was doing, the same way Paul was doing. We read about David in the Psalms and how he was crying out to the Lord in his afflictions, man. Okay? Don't run from it. Okay? Accept it. Humble yourself underneath the mighty hand of the Lord, and he shall exalt you in due time. Okay? All right, which I'm gonna go to First Peter chapter, I believe that's chapter 5. Okay. All right. It says in verse 6, it says, "Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time, casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you." Okay, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of people, they fold under the pressure of the afflictions and the bitterness that comes with this truth. Okay, because they're not praying. They're not calling upon Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. They're not bringing it to the Lord. Okay. Prayer is such a powerful tool, not simply because the Lord delivers us when we pray, because the Lord does do that too as well, which is why one of the reasons why it's important to pray. But prayer actually acts kind of like how would I say, it helps relieve the pressure. Okay. All right. It helps you vent that emotional pressure, that mental turmoil that you might be feeling when you're going through trials and afflictions. You pray to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. It gives you a way to vent some of that emotional pain. And you know that the Lord is listening, man. Okay. You know that he cares. All right. And, when you pray, the Lord, you pray for comfort, you pray for strength, the Lord will give it to you. Okay. As you're going through these trials and afflictions, man. All right. It says, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour, whom resist steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world." Okay, so the afflictions are happening to everybody, man. Satan is out here getting busy. We read about it in Job, right? Okay, the Lord sucked Satan on Job, and the Lord does it to us too. All right. Paul said in first, I believe, the First or Second Corinthians, he said, "What? A messenger of Satan was sent to buffet me, man." Okay. So the Lord sends Satan to whoop our ass sometime, man. Straight up. It's like that, man. Okay. But is it for us? Is it meant for us to doubt the Lord, or to think that the Lord is not with us? No, it's not meant to do that, man. It's meant to purify our faith and call upon the Lord, man. All right. It says, "But the God of all grace, who hath called us unto his eternal glory by Yahweh Shai, after that ye have suffered a while, make you perfect, establish, strengthen, settle you." Okay. So sometimes you have to suffer a little while so you can be made perfect, so your faith can be established, so you can be stable, so you can be strengthened. Okay, so you can be comforted and settled in the faith and become more mature. Okay, the affliction not just gonna happen and then it get better overnight. Sometimes the Lord does that. The Lord does that sometimes, but a lot of times things gotta keep going. Keep getting worse and worse. Sometimes, it'd be one thing after the other, after another, after another, after another. You know, some traumatic shit happen. It's part of it, man. Okay, it's part of the battle, man. All right, we have to suffer. We have to go through the afflictions and trials, man. This is a consistent theme through the Bible, man. It's part of the story. There's no getting around it, man. We have to accept that, man. Okay, we can't be like Job's wife, questioning, beginning to doubt the Lord, because you catching some hell, or people that was watching Yahushua on the cross. They was in the crowd talking shit, oh, well, he said the Lord was with him. He was able to save other people and heal other people, save yourself. I thought you said the Lord was with you. We can't have that mentality, man. We got to understand, even when we're going through the afflictions and trials, that the Lord is with us, man. It's just a part of proving our faith. Is it going to feel good? Is it going to feel like the Lord is with us? Is it going to feel that way all the time in the flesh? No. But we have to have that spiritual understanding, man, that this is just part of the movie. It's part of the Lord's show. And again, that it's the Lord's show, not our show. Okay. All right. Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 2. Right. It says, looking unto Yahushua, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of the Most High. All right. So Yahushua, he had to endure the cross before he was glorified, man. This is Yahushua, man. He had to go through this, man. He had to be beaten and betrayed. His friends abandoned him. People was lying on him. That shit hurt. When you read the Psalms, the scriptures say that the things concerning Yahushua's sufferings were written in the Psalms and in the prophets and the law. So you got to read the law and you got to read the prophets. There's certain, and certain of the Psalms, man, that go into, Yahushua's emotional landscape, if you will, as he was going through his trials, man, and how this shit hurt, man, how he was calling out to the Lord, man. Okay, this is Yahushua, the Son of the Most High, man. But the Lord put him through it. It pleased the Lord to bruise him and to put him to grief. Okay, that's how we're going to enter into the glory. That's how we're going to receive the crowns, is by going through this straight gate. Okay. And yes, the Lord will bless us along the way. Miracles will be performed, etc., etc. But it's not going to be without or absent from, catching hell and going through afflictions, man. It's all part of it. Okay. And on the other side of that is the kingdom. All right. It says, for consider him that endured such contradictions of sinners against himself, lest ye be wearied and faint in your own minds. Okay. So we got to consider what Yahushua went through so that we don't end up getting weak and fucking bugging out, man. Because that's what happens, man. It happens. That's why these things are written for our admonition, because it can happen. All right. It's very easy for you to get offended in the Lord, man. This flesh is weak, man. And the flesh want what it want, but the spirit want what it want, That's why these things are written for our admonition, so we can understand what it is that we are fucking part of, man. Okay? It's not easy. It ain't easy street. It ain't sunshine and rainbows. It ain't all just things being all good. No, shit gonna hurt. Okay? Ye have not yet resisted unto blood, striving against sin, and ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children. My son, despise not thou the chastening of the Lord, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him. For whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. If ye endure chastening, God dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not, man? All right. So son or daughter, if you calling yourself serving the Lord, you're going to go through temptations. You're going to go through chastisements, and you cannot despise it, man. Okay. You gotta accept the will of the Lord and humble yourself under his mighty hand. Okay. And when you go to the word chastisement, it goes into the misfortunes and evils that the Lord brings upon his servants, man. I'm going to bring out the word chasteneth. Okay. All right. Strong's G3811. All right. And I'm going to just get to the point. Okay. Which it says to chastise or castigate with words to correct of those who are molding the character of others by reproof and admonition of God, to chasten by the afflictions of evils and calamities, man. Okay, so these evils and calamities that are brought upon us are to mold our character, man. Okay, to make us fit, vessels for the kingdom of heaven, man. All right, the scriptures say, "He that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved." If you want to be saved, you're gonna have to go through trials and afflictions. That's what the word endure means. It's not one without the other. You ain't just gonna be saved and not going through nothing. All right. Okay, so it's a part of it, man. All right, but if you endure the chastening, guess what? That means that you're a son of the Lord, man. All right, because again, what the scriptures say, he that loveth his son causeth him oft to feel the rod, man, that he may have joy with him of him in the end. Okay, verse 8, it says, "But if ye be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards and not sons." Okay, so you don't want to be without chastisement, man. Okay, and it's gonna keep coming. Don't think that it's gonna just be all easy street as we get up out of here, man. Okay, nah, man. Yes, we're gonna be blessed. We're gonna be way better off than these people in the world, but we're gonna still go through shit too, man. Okay, we're gonna be going through different trials and afflictions, and before we get out of here, all right, persecution, martyrdom, beheadings, imprisonments, and things of that nature. Okay. It's part of the story. It's part of what the Lord has written for his elect. Okay. So, just, get that in your mind. Okay. Accept the will of the Lord, man. Thy will be done. All right. And pray. Pray to Yahweh Shem Yahushai for the strength to endure and not to be offended at his will, man. Like Job's wife was. Okay. This is 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 6, right? It says, "Wherein ye greatly rejoice, though now for a season, if need be, ye are in heaviness through manifold temptations, that the trial of your faith, okay, being much more precious than of gold that perisheth, though it be tried with fire, might be found unto praise and honor and glory at the appearing of Yahweh Shai." So we got to go through these afflictions, and these temptations, and it hurts. You're going to be in heaviness. You're going to be in sorrow. But it's for a season. Okay. It's for a season, but understand that season is for the purifying of your faith, man, so that when Yahweh Shai returns, you can be received unto praise, honor, and glory. "Whom having not seen ye love, in whom though now ye see him not, yet believing, ye rejoice with joy unspeakable and full of glory, receiving the end of your faith, even the salvation of your souls," man. Okay. So again, the end of the whole process of catching the hell and receiving evil at the hand of the Lord, and going through the temptations and the adversities, is what? Salvation. Okay. And that's what it's really all about, man. It's not about these material comforts that we have. It's not about what you desire. Okay. It's not about the preservation of your life. Okay. And your agenda. Okay. It's not about that, man. It's about the will of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Okay. And trusting his will. Okay. Keeping the faith in the midst of it all, regardless of how it feels, man. And at the end of that is what? Salvation, which is what we all want. We want the kingdom. Anything that we can grieve about and bitch about not having and losing, and it hurts and we don't want to go through this, the Lord's going to make it all right in the kingdom anyway, man. The scriptures saying going to be no more pain, no more sorrow, no more tears, no more death. We're not going to lack anything, man. So what is there not to fight for, man? What is there not to accept when we got a whole kingdom to enjoy all the beautiful things and blessings that the Lord has promised us, man? That he's going to give to us upon saving us from the destruction of Babylon the Great by fire and brimstone, man. The water Yahweh Shem Yahushai, that we have an opportunity to prove our faith via afflictions and trials, to miss out on such a great destruction and partake on such a beautiful and amazing salvation. Praise the Lord, man. All praises to Yahweh Shem Yahushai, man. Okay. Okay. So I just wanted to bring that out, Lord willing, it was edifying And all praise to Yahweh Shem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakakwadash, double honors to the elder apostles, a great millstone and citations to the elect. Shalom.